Hi everyone, Hendrika here, your guide to Once Upon an Orchid, and today we have something very special and unique. Do you know that you could actually grow Cattleya in a dish of water? Yes. Stay tuned to find out and let's get going. So basically for her, she has divided, a old pot of orchid. I think that was the original pot where I first saw the orchid, all these large pots. It was super full. And then, I told her, hey, why don't you, divide it, because, this is a beautiful orchid. This is what the flower looks like. Yes, most of them have finished blooming. And I was telling her, well, if you want your orchids to bloom faster, prettier, harder, use my force feeding technique. If you don't know what my force feeding technique is, look into the description below for that video. And so she did that. She broke up the plant, propagated the plant. She said she threw out so many pseudobulbs at the back end. And, I said, why don't you use something very economical that you can find everywhere? And this is hardwood chips. And then she put some coconut chips. Yep, just normal items from the hardware store or Bunnings, where most people get their stuff from here. And after that, I said, why don't you fertilize it with some dynamic lifter? And it's here. I didn't say, put the orchids under a tray of water. But previously, these were already growing in a dish like that. And whenever I come and visit her for the hedging jobs, there is very, very little. So I didn't know that it really is this full. And she just watered them yesterday. So I was like, a bit concerned. Are you serious? Like, this doesn't cause rot? Well, she said that once the orchid were propagated and repotted and watered, and then for about 4 weeks, I think she propagated this in spring. She watered them for about 4 weeks, and then started putting dynamic lifter, like just sprinkle a little bit of pellets over it. Then it became like every 6 weeks she put some more. So when I came over to see this, I was a little bit concerned, like, what's up with all this? Dead stuff, rot, and I was like, you putting too much water to this? Is it always sitting in water? Then she said, no, they get only watered almost every 10 days to 14 days. It means that when the dish dries up, she even lets it dry out some more for another 2 or 3 more days. So this result here, as you can see, fat, succulent, new growth right here. You can see, yes, these have all conked off and died off, and this one is doing pretty well as well. Let me share with you more examples around this division right here. You can see that this is the oldest division. See, this one has gone off, it's been cut, and you can see how dry this is. 2 new fat succulent shoots are popping out. Yes, you could say that the plant is trying to survive and therefore it threw out 2 new shoots. Let's look at something else here. So this was the last growth, and this is the new growth. Look how succulent and nice it is. This is the old growth, very much scarred. Kind of dry. You can say, yes, this is the old growth. Some of it has burnt here as well, because she shifted it from, I think, there to about here, which does get some more light. But overall, to me, this is just fascinating. She can propagate so many divisions, and this is an old hybrid. She's in her late 60s, and she said that these orchids came from a friend who I think had passed on and stuff like that. So it's like almost 30-40-year-old plants. These might be a primary hybrid. I'm trying to figure out what the name of this orchid is. Maybe it is a primary hybrid because it looks quite like a wrinkle Cattleya dibigiana with glauca somewhere. And the pink, I'm just trying to figure it out. These old hybrids are tough. Some of the younger ones are quite sensitive. To me, this tells a story that, some people say, oh, you shouldn't overwater your orchids and it rots and whatnot. Let me show you this environment here. As you can see, this is very much a courtyard, like underneath the veranda. It gets plenty of airflow, and then it gets morning sun. There is a Papilionanda here. I know it's ugly as crap because the dendrobium beetle larvae got to it, but this is where the Tan Che Yen that I showed you folks, I got it from, see? When I first met her, actually her mom, and then her, she has this old orchid, and look at this, it's still blooming. Here, and here. And she also grows the Papilionanda in a dish of water like this. It's not blooming at the moment, but you can see how happy it is. Look at the roots. Yeah, you can grow orchids quite easily with just, under the veranda with, racks, and even putting, a dish underneath your potted plants or your potted orchids and fertilizing it with dynamic lifter. She says that these will be for sale next flowering season. I'd like to add that when I first told her to propagate this orchid, this Cattleya, I said that you probably missed the first year of blooms, but guess what? They bloomed in about 4 or 5 months after they were propagated. So I was scratching my head. I was like, how does this happen? Then the possibility is that maybe the Cattleya was getting ready to flower before it was propagated. And so when it got propagated, it just kept on doing what it wanted to do. Maybe next year they may take a break because, as you can see, that those who have flowered have already spent their flowers. Those who have already spent their flowers like this. Okay, you can't get flowers from them anymore. So you got to wait for a new shoot to grow. This is, well, potted too close to the edge, but it's okay. I think the plant will correct itself. But things like this, there is a new sheath here that might be a flower that might be popping up. Things like this, you can see it's already bloomed, and there are no new growths here, meaning that now the plant has to come out with a new shoot and then mature and then bloom again. So maybe this time the orchids might have to wait for a year before you see new flowers, but who knows? Look at this, the flowering sheath coming out from this. Maybe this was already propagated with the shoot in growth. Like I said, this orchid is fascinating. Yeah, like I said, this is not very pretty, but they do bloom twice a year according to her. So wow. So sometimes if you can find a non-seasonal Cattleya to bloom for you and find a Cattleya that's pretty hardy, you got a winner. I wish I knew where it is. If I do, I'll put it here. Don't take it just for me. This is my client. I told her, she tried, made something that worked for her. Make something works for you. Don't give up experimenting. Just keep on trying. Sometimes you may kill a few plants. Kind of normal. And yeah. Okay, so thank you everyone for watching. Hope you liked this quick short episode. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.